Hello, everyone, and welcome to this segment of In the Dugout. I'm Michael Shively, the voice of the Lincoln Saltdogs, and today I'm joined by Saltdogs right-handed pitcher Austin Robichaux. You can catch this both on radio and on Saltdogs social media. We're cross-posting this version of In the Dugout. And Austin, let's get right into your season this year. A little bit of a rocky start for you. The first start, then you go to the DL for a bit, come back, take a loss and a decent outing against Winnipeg. But man, have you rebounded here in the last couple of outings. What have you done to help settle in throughout the year?
I just tried to go back on what made me successful in the past, whether it would be focus, mechanical things. I was coming off of doing this whole weighted ball circuit with the Angels and trying to throw harder. And, it made me kind of get into walking too many people. So I just wanted to get back to my old ways of pitching and not throwing. And it's really helped me.
And it all really came to a climax on July 1st. That's when you tossed your complete game shutout, a 7-inning shutout, but still counts the same in the books. So that's still pretty impressive and a big career milestone, your first complete game as a professional. What was that moment like when you secured the final out of that game?
It was awesome. A lot of credit goes to defense and Shanko that game, for calling a great game. But it was a great feeling, and honestly, I didn't really know until afterwards. That was my first in my professional career. I had no idea because I threw a few in college, but I had no idea that was my first one of my professional career. And when it was pointed out to me, it made that moment even that much special.
Yeah, so defense was working behind you. The catcher was good, but you had to be good too. This was a Gary team that hit 4 home runs in the first game of that doubleheader, so it's not like it was a slumping team that you were facing. What was working well for you in that game to get all those outs?
My all-speed helped a lot. My changeup was really good that game, but most of all, my sinker. I'm a sinker ball guy.
Yeah.
And it really helped me out that game. They beat a lot of balls into the ground. I watched that first game, and I just didn't want to run away from my plan just because I hit a few home runs. I stuck with my plan with pitching inside and throwing my sinkers, and it worked out.
Base runners on in the final 2 innings, and of course, it was a 1-run game, so lots of drama there, but the complete game shutout also riding on it. You were able to induce a couple of huge double plays in those last 2 innings. Were you starting to feel the nerves? Was the pressure getting on you that you could feel the complete game or the shutout wearing?
No. I was more focused on I didn't want Bobby to come get me because my past couple of outings, that one runner gets on, and he shuts it down. He comes and gets a fresh arm in there. I just wanted to show him that, I came all that way. I can finish it. And I just played it up a sinker and let it do what it does, and they beat it into the ground for double play.
Well, congrats. That was an awesome game to call, awesome game to watch. And you followed it up with a pretty good performance, too, in St. Paul, and that one was a tight one, too. Ended up being a 7-6 Saltdogs win. You faced a bases-loaded situation with just 1 down in a tie game pretty early on in that one and struck out 2 batters in a row. You've been a guy that's been able to get out of some jams throughout the year. When that pressure turns up with base runners on, is there anything you do to hit an extra gear?
Yeah, I just try to focus in and say, do you want this to be your last inning, and or do you want to man up and get the job done? And it was funny because Wright came out there and was like, he goes, normally before the 5th inning you wouldn't fist pump or anything, but you're gonna get a ground ball double play here. And you're gonna give a big fist pump. And I was like, okay, yeah. And I ended up striking 2 guys out and kind of hitting my glove and getting a little pumped up. And he goes in there, he goes, 2 strikeouts is a lot cooler than a double play anyway.
Yeah, I think he's right there.
Yeah.
That's great. We're talking to Austin Robichaux in the dugout, getting ready for first pitch between the Saltdogs and T-Bones today. Austin, let's go back to your upbringing a little bit. Your father, Tony, is the head coach at the University of Louisiana, the Ragin Cajuns. Some folks might remember it as Louisiana Lafayette, but he's had a great run there, I believe 24 years now. When you were growing up, how much was baseball a part of your life?
It was everything, even to this day. I was born in Lake Charles when he was at McNeese. He was a head coach at the age of 24, 25 at McNeese. Got that job. That's where I was born. I was only there for a few years, then went to Lafayette. And, it was everything. Growing up, my brother, who was older than me, also played for my dad. Watching him do it, I didn't care where my dad was coaching. As long as he was coaching, I wanted to play for him. just growing up and having that sport in your blood, it was everything.
So there was never a doubt that you were going to be a baseball player.
Oh no, and he's still to this day. He said he'd love me the same if I decided I want to do something else, hang it up. But there was never a doubt in my mind.
So then you get to go play for the Ragin Cajuns, had a nice 3-year career. What was that different when you started playing for your dad? Did the father-coach dynamic ever conflict?
No, not really. He treated me just like any other player. He was very good with it. The only problems I ever had was I didn't know whether to call him coach or dad. So if he was
Dad, how about that?
if he was ever far away, I just told myself what I had to ask him wasn't as important because I didn't know whether to say coach or dad. But no, he was very good about just treating me like a normal player, and I just treated him like any other coach.
In 2000, Lafayette made it to the College World Series. You would have been 7 or 8 at that point. So what do you remember from that experience?
Everything.
The
the atmosphere, at the time it was Rosenblatt. Just that atmosphere walking through that gate, seeing the look on my dad's face and the players' faces, I told myself I just wanted to be a part of that someday, and got really, really close my junior year, 1 game away, but Ole Miss came back and ended up taking 2 from us. But I remember everything from that, and it was just a cool thing to witness at such a young age.
What characteristics about your dad do you think has helped him have such a long and successful career?
Well, first of all, he's one of the greatest men I've ever got introduced to. He's a bona fide leader, just all of the above. And when it comes to coaching at Lafayette, it's not about trying to get kids to the big leagues. It's not about any of that. He tries to mold us into better men. He teaches us how to become better men, and that in the Bible it doesn't say anywhere that you need to be a baseball player, but it's pretty certain on what kind of man you need to be. And that's what he instills, and that's what I think in turn makes him such a good coach, and he gets it all paid back in full.
Awesome. If you had to pick one piece of advice, either baseball or just life-related, what's the best piece of advice that you've gotten from him?
Probably just – that's a tough one because he spits them out every day. Probably just to get on your knees every night and always pay it back full to the man upstairs, because as fast as he gave it to you, he can take it away. And like I said earlier, just about life after baseball. Baseball's not going to always be there. But at the end of the day, you got to, what kind of husband are you going to be? What kind of son are you going to be? Just all of those things in general is probably the best things he's taught me.
That's great. And Austin, we need to get you out on this one because Joe Robbins became a quick fan favorite with this team last year, hit for the cycle, had a lot of great moments, and he was a Ragin Cajun too. Did you ever get to strike Joe out in intra-squad?
No, I don't believe. I think all the times that it came down to it, I think he might have been on my team in inter-squads. But no, I love Joe to death, and he deserved everything that was coming to him. There's been nights when I'd be leaving the stadium and I'd look in the cages and his sister's soft tossing to him, and it's midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, So Joe worked for everything he's got, and I'm glad that the Diamondbacks gave him a chance.
Well, Austin, great work this season. Keep up the good work, and thanks for taking time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
That's Saltdogs right-handed pitcher Austin Robichaux in the dugout. First pitch between the Saltdogs and T-Bones coming up soon.